All right, Mark, thanks for being back on the podcast. So for those of you who have never had the pleasure of listening to Mark Roberts or met Mark Roberts, you can dial back. We've got a podcast episode we did where we talked about building a winning culture, because your practice has this amazing culture. It really is an amazing culture. We walk through that, how to hire, unfortunately, how to let some people go, but how to build that culture. Today, what I want to talk about is it's along the lines of mentoring. And one of the things that I see in having been in the industry for a while is that, one, there's a lot of advisors that, the average age is getting older. We're looking for, where's the new talent coming in? And as an advisor with a thriving practice, bringing in an advisor into your practice, what I want to pick your brain about is, how do you find that person? How do you mentor somebody to make them, to really bring somebody along into this business? Because it's different, like your hiring practices we talked about in the other episode, which if you literally, folks, you need to go back and listen to that one. But hiring an advisor is different than hiring somebody who is operational staff. The time spent, the job function, it's just 100% different. So I've been doing all the talking here for like 2 minutes, so I'm all chatty Cathy. But when you look at bringing somebody on as another advisor and you're mentoring them, what is mentoring? When I say mentoring, what do you think of?
How do I help somebody else achieve their goals? Not my goals, their goals.
But they're kind of your goals, though, too, right? Because they have their goals, but you've got goals for the practice, and they're integral to that.
I do, but I don't know. I just think that with amazing office staff that you can have around you and an operational and a marketing side of things, you want to grow. The way you grow is you have to bring in more sales. So there's only so many appointments any one advisor can have in a day or in a week. Mm-hmm. So you do more marketing, you could have more appointments. Well, your calendar's only so full. So you bring in another advisor, some kind of a junior advisor or some kind of another advisor that was a solo advisor someplace else that you want to bring them in. So I think first things first is you got to teach them your processes, your systems. I'm having success because of my systems and my processes and the people that I have in my office. You're here today to want to work as an advisor in my office because something that you've been doing hasn't been working. Your systems, your processes, your marketing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that they don't have knowledge, they're not good with people, things like this, but there's misfires on some other areas that we can help with. So you bring another advisor in, and the first thing you do, you got to teach them, what is my sales process? How do I do it? Okay, let's talk about marketing. How do we bring in prospects? And then once we get a prospect on our calendar, how do we take them through the process? How do you utilize the other talent and amazing people that's in the office around us to do things for you that you don't need to do? Because if you let them do it for you to prepare you for all your appointments, they will do it better than you. Mm-hmm. So that way you free up time. So your time should be all about on the phone or face-to-face with clients. Their job is not. Their job is to get us prepared for those things. Those folks over here don't want to be in sales. That's not their personality. That's not what they like. You want to be in sales. You like that challenge of it. Mm-hmm. So I've had advisors that I've worked with where I thought, okay, I'd like to see you produce a certain level. And you work with them, and you see that they got that potential. But my ambition for them is different than their own ambition. See, I've learned over time that you can't make another advisor produce what you necessarily want them to do. But the idea is, can you bring somebody in who's going to be a good fit in the culture, and can you bring somebody in who's going to make you money, make the office money, do a good job for your clients, and represent your company and your brand right? But don't push them. Let's find out what their goals are, and let's help them achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. So if I can focus on what their goals and help them get to their goals, then what happens is they will continue to up and up and up their goals. A salesperson likes being in sales because they like the challenge and they like the increased income opportunity. Well, if I help them get to their income goal, what's the next natural thing? They want to increase their goal.
Yep.
If you increase their goal, then how do we increase your goal? What do we got to adjust to get you to increase your goal? So it's about mentoring them and helping them identify their goals and helping them achieve their goals with what I can do for them and then what my team can do for them.
Mm-hmm. So you've got an amazing team. So you have all the structural support to bring somebody in. How do you identify the person you want to bring in? Because it is different than hiring somebody to to do the ops side?
So I think any salesperson needs to take another salesperson with a grain of salt. I always say any salesperson is the easiest person to sell to.
This is true.
If somebody comes over to me at a store, they're always going to try to upsell me, and I'm going to give them a benefit of doubt because they're a salesperson. I'm going to listen to them. If a waiter comes over to me and wants to upsell me on something on the menu, I'm going to be easy to listen to because I'm always giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not so closed off that some people are because I'm a salesperson. I get it. So I found salespeople try to sell me on why they should work for me. And I've hired some salespeople that were duds that didn't work. I've had some salespeople who had all these great stories and great things and all this and that. And all right, then if this is all that great, then why are you here wanting to work for me? Why aren't you doing this on your own? And so you have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. Because as a salesperson, I'm easily to be sold by another salesperson. And if another salesperson wants to come work with me and be a salesperson on my team, I'm going to listen to them because that's just how I am. But at the same time, it's let's get them in and let's figure it out. We'll do things on a trial basis. And a lot of times, I'll honestly tell you, I'll say, come in. I'm going to put some prospects on your plate from some marketing that we did. Do it your way. I want to see it your way.
Do you sit in the meetings?
I want to see how they handle the phone calls. I want to see how they handle the meetings. I want to see how they handle the prep of it. You do everything your way that you're used to doing it. I want to see it because I can't help them be a better version of them if I don't truly understand what's going on inside their head.
Good point.
So I like to see things their way. So a great example is Terry in my office. Terry's new and been with us for a year. And when Terry came over, we were doing our marketing and we'd give him some prospects and we'd fill up his calendar. And he knows our sales process. I've taught him my sales process. We talk about it ad nauseum in the early stages of working with us. But I was very clear to say, you don't have to do it my way. I want you to do it your way. And over time, we will work together to tweak it and tweak it. But here's my prediction. You're coming to me because there's some misfires on what it is that you're doing on your own or what you're doing where you were at previously. So my prediction is you're going to ultimately evolve to ultimately doing it full-blown the way that we're doing it. It may take 6 months, it may take a year, who knows. But let's do it your way so I can learn from you what you do. And quite frankly, I might learn something myself. But I've learned it helps me communicate better with them. Okay, when you do it this way, this is what I see. Now, if you try this, how does that look to you? Oh, I never thought about that. And it's how you can communicate with folks. And it's just like I would walk a prospect through the sales process to turn them into a client. It's how you walk a salesperson through that to make them a better salesperson. Just got to get inside their head. And so with Terry, he had his ways, and we let him do his ways. He sold what he liked to sell, and he did it his way. He prepped it. He did all the work, but I would be in the meetings. I'd be in the phone calls. And then I'd be less and less into it, let him do more and more. And then he starts to evolve and start adding in some of our stuff and adding in our stuff. And when I say add our stuff in, now he's adjusting his sales process a little bit by doing less of the prep work and allowing the other amazing people in the office to do some of that for him, to do the number crunching, the analysis work, and the research, and putting the stuff together that he can go present on. And it's like mind blown. And then have him sit in and do some appointments with me. Constantly have him sit in appointments with me, have him see me do my thing forwards and backwards multiple times, whether it's phone calls to do a review with the client or a phone call in the sales process, face-to-face with clients, Zooms with clients, whatever it takes, have him sit in and watch. And he just takes tons of notes. Terry's extremely successful and is achieving production he's never had before. And he'd tell you, he's never been happier in his career than he is right now. And that's not just because of me. It's because of all the amazing people in my office around us that all help him. But I had to learn how to communicate with Terry to adjust Terry from being Terry's way to having Terry be Affinity way, but with Terry's flavor on it. Tom in my office does things Affinity's way, but with Tom's flavor. The three of us today now, let's say, Tom's been with me for like 23 years, and Terry's been with me, let's say, for 1 year. And I've had other advisors come and go over the years, but they all start off their way, and they end up our way. And there's something in the middle where I let their personality be their personality. I don't want Terry to be Mark, and I don't want Tom to be Mark. But there's some systems and processes, and there's a way that we can communicate, and there's a way that we can demonstrate to clients things that is more efficient than what you're doing.
That's fascinating that you do it that way, because you are very consistent. You are very process driven, And I guess for some reason I thought that I really dig what you're saying of seeing how they do, what they do, why they do it, and then slowly letting them kind of just naturally evolve into the affinity way, as you say it. I thought maybe you'd be more like, here's the playbook, this is the plays we're running, but that's not what you're doing. That's fascinating.
You got to play the long game.
The long game.
Okay, and when I say that, when somebody would come in and I let them do things their way, what happens is the negative of it is the other people in the office are frustrated of what that new advisor is doing because the staff is being asked to do things slightly different, and they can't help maybe the way that they're used to helping, and that frustrates them. But the long game. Okay, we'll get that person to evolve. We'll get that person to evolve, and then that person will be just like the rest of us, and then everything becomes seamless. I just don't want to throw somebody and say, "Here's how you're going to do it. You're going to do it my way." We're not like some corporate structure. You got to do it this way. For bringing in an existing advisor who has experience, why not tap into that experience, and why not me as well as my entire office learn from that other person's experiences, good and bad? Why not learn from that? But I've also done the thing where I brought in somebody who's never been in sales, never been licensed, start them off in one part of the company, move them to another part of the company, get them licensed, move them into a sales role, and I've seen that evolution. And you get to train them right from day one. The downside with somebody like that is, especially when they're younger people, once they get that training, they have ambitions bigger than what my office is going to provide. They want to leave you. You know, the baby bird wants to fly the nest and go someplace else, and I get that. I did the same thing. I started someplace else, and then I flew the nest.
Good point.
I get it. So I've learned over time that where I'm at in my career today, that if I'm to bring on another advisor, I'm not looking for somebody who's going to be young and I'm going to build them up and I'm going to teach them right to begin with. I'm going to bring in somebody who's more experienced and kind of go with the adage of I want to teach an old dog new tricks mentality. And sometimes you can't teach old dogs new tricks. I've had advisors that I've brought in that are older with a lot of experience that have not been able to learn and not been able to grow from it. You can't help everybody, but you want to give it a good try for everybody. But I've had way less stress working with a mature, experienced advisor who wants to just be more productive and more efficient and not have all the management and management decisions and marketing expenses that they would have on their own that they could give up and not have that in my office, but they could just be a salesperson in my office. Yeah. Those are the people that I've found that I gravitate more towards. So I'll tell you, what I learned with like Tom or Terry in my office, I would easily bring on another Tom or Terry in my office for that same kind of thing, just because I can learn from them.
So you mentioned, so Tom's been with you for a while, but Terry, how did you find Terry? How did you guys connect?
Well, that's one of the beauties of creative. My practice has grown a ton over the years for a variety of things, from marketing to sales process to how we just do our business model. We've learned a ton from creative over the years. Well, I was at an event that I met another company through creative. It's like a referral of a referral. And I was at that event where Terry was at that event. And there was only 8 financial advisors at this particular event. From all over the United States, 8 advisors, and we had 2 of us in the same backyard in the same town. What? It's like, okay, so we started chatting, and I found out how quickly he was miserable where he was at. And he found out how quickly I needed to make a change with something in my office, and I needed somebody like him. And we were just like this, instantly.
What was his misery point? Do you remember? Just the back office side, or?
I think there were people in his office that he really liked where he was at. I think there were other people in his office that were the real problem to him. The way he was talked to, the way he was treated.
Little toxicity.
Yep, very toxic. And he still today has very much respect for a lot of people in his old organization where he was at. But there was just too much problems that were holding Terry back from being the best version of Terry. And he needed something better than that. And here in my office, he realizes Mark Roberts isn't the bright, shiny star. We're all bright, shiny stars in the office kind of mentality.
What gets you excited about bringing someone on and mentoring them?
Honestly, it's when you can see somebody succeed and you help them achieve their goals, that to me is more cool than helping any one client. Because any one client, I can help them achieve their retirement goals, income strategies, tax strategies, everything that we do for them. That's great. That's one client at a time. But if I help one financial advisor, that one financial advisor can ultimately end up helping 1,000 clients over time. And that's huge.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So that to me is just matters more to me than anything else.
So any advice what advice would you give to other advisors that are thinking of adding a junior or another advisor into their practice?
Think about your age and think about what are your long-term goals. If you get hit in a car accident next year, what do you want to happen to your business and your clients? So having another advisor in the office is going to help that smooth transition and to make sure that your family gets full payout for the value of your practice. Because I've known advisors who don't have another advisor and they've died and their clients are just gone off to other places and that family of the deceased advisor didn't get any value for that business. And
That's a good
so
point.
you want to have a succession plan. So just if something happens to me tomorrow, I have a succession plan of how things will run in the office, that my staff is taken care of and my clients are taken care of. But at the same time, what if nothing does happen to me and I live a good long life and I finally do want to retire? I want my staff to still have a job. I want the next person to come in and take over. So again, think of the long-term picture. Do you want to hire somebody older than you or younger than you? Do you want to hire somebody who's experienced that you're going to help tweak them? Do you want to hire somebody brand new that you want to mold? There are pros and cons to both because sometimes you hire somebody older, you just can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
And sometimes you hire somebody new that you can teach them new tricks, but they're going to flee the nest. And they don't stay with you as long as you'd hoped. So there's pros and cons to everything. I think finding chemistry matters with another advisor because you're going to become buddies, you're going to become friends, you're going to spend a lot of time with each other out of office. And it's amazing the amount of time I spend with the other salespeople over the years out of the office. And you could be out of the office and do nothing about business stuff, but you're talking business stuff. And you're texting at nighttime about business stuff. And random thoughts hit you and you're talking about this. And the conversations that you have in the hallways or standing in their doorway of their office between meetings, it's all about just sharing and learning from each other and how can we both evolve.
It's like knives. The edge sharpens on another edge.
Yes, that's a good way to say it. Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. Well, I tell you what, Mark, love having you on the podcast. We're going to have you back. You are a wealth of knowledge. You've got a practice that I think any advisor would aspire to, especially the staff, the mentoring, the culture, the production. I mean, that's got to be said too. But thanks for being here. We look forward to having you on again.
Thank you so much for having me.
This podcast is for financial professional use only and not for use with the general public. The information provided is the exclusive property of Creative One and is protected by copyright and other intellectual property laws of the United States. This material has been prepared for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to provide, and should not be relied upon for, accounting, legal, tax or investment advice. Creative One is not responsible for the results of programs discussed on this podcast or any liability stemming from the use of it. Although we may promote or recommend the services offered by this company, agents are ultimately responsible for the use of any materials or services and agree to comply with the compliance requirements of their broker-dealer and registered investment advisor, if applicable, and the insurance carriers they represent. Copyright 2022, Creative One Marketing Corporation.